I was pretty confident even on the first film. And I look, he's sitting down there on the steps in some college or in a village or somewhere like that. He doesn't even go to his caravan. With Suriya, we worked a lot with his eyes because his eyes give out everything. For him, it's his entire face.
Hello and welcome to The Hindu. This is Srinivas Ramanujam, and today we have with us National Award-winning filmmaker Sudha Kongara, who is looking forward to the release of her Hindi film Sarfira, starring Akshay Kumar. Hello ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, we just came to your office and I was reading this board before you came in, and the first point says, always find a unique story, 100 years of cinema has happened. Don't give the audience the same crap. With Sarfira or with Suriya Potru, why did you think you had found that unique story?
You know, sometimes I sit with the film, I sit with the story and I mull over it and then I'm like cooking it. And sometimes what happens is you've got an idea and then it doesn't go beyond that. You don't get a scene, you don't get a thought, you don't get a dialogue, nothing. And then there are some wherein like you're getting scenes and you just, it's just not leaving you alone. One such thought was this particular thing, because I had seen it as an interview. I had seen his interview, Captain Gopinath's, way back in 2009, and I just fell in love with the idea of the David and Goliath kind of a thing, and a very Cain and Abel kind of a thing was also there, where he was talking about how when he was down and out, somebody really big was trying to take him out of that and bail him out. And also I thought that it was a story of friends trying to start an airline, because all of the preliminary research that I had done and secondary research that I had done was that in fact I'd called it 36 NDA because these three friends belong to that batch of NDA, and I said, okay, fine, this is a story of friendship. And then I do my primary research where I go and I meet with him and all the people, and then I realize it is this man propelling everything forward. It was his story, and everybody else are important pegs in that story. So to me, when they were telling me there is this man, I saw his mad journey. This was like a newly liberal India in the 1990s, and then we had opened up economically, we had opened up our markets, and there you see this man wanting to make a common man fly. And before that he tried many things, like, you know, silkworm farming, and then he got the Rolex award for farming. He takes a dry barren piece of land and just makes it into a forest, and he's run Udupi hotels, he's had Enfield showrooms, you name it. He ran a chopper service before that. Who is this guy? What is this guy? And most importantly, I had been on one of his flights way back, and I remember we were all trying to go to to Shimla, and we were taking a train to Chandigarh, and then my sister-in-law was like googling something or something, I don't know, she was like internet addicted, and she said, you know, there are flight tickets for 1 rupee and there are flight tickets for 500 rupees. We were like, no, that's all a scam. So then she said, no, seriously, I'll book it. So a family of 12, which was meant to go by a train, we travelled by a flight, and of course, we didn't get it at the 1 rupee thing. They were sold out very quickly. We got the 500 rupees thing with tax and everything. I think it was 1,000 rupees per person, which was still lesser than the train ticket. So I remember asking my dad, who is this mad guy? Who is this guy? Because it's a very energizing story. Like in a new India, you have this man going all out from nothing. You don't have to have like millions, and you don't have to have a backing. You don't have to have a family with crores to set out to do business. So that to me was very energizing, and I felt the story had to be told to the world, because he changed the face of Indian aviation. That's it. So it's unique. I haven't seen, and when we made this, I hadn't seen too many biopics in the mainstream area, too many of them, and that too about an entrepreneur.
True.
So that to me felt unique. Right. But I don't follow these tenets or something. It's just there to remind me, yeah, Sudha, like when you're confused, you look at it maybe. But to me, something has to resonate, and I have to just keep thinking about it again and again. It shouldn't leave me in peace. Then I go for it.
Right, the Tamil film, of course, released in 2020, Suriya Potru starring Suriya, and did reasonably well. It did quite well, and it of course got all the awards that it went on to. Now that when you embark on the Bollywood remake, you're armed with some tested material, so to say. So did you feel a lot more confident this time around?
No, not really. I was I was pretty confident even on the first film because to me, it spoke to me. It was an underdog story. I still watch my films as an audience. I don't know how many. I watch all films as an audience. I don't know. It's on the first watch, it's just like the emotion that's connecting with me. Upon the second or the third watch, then I'm just breaking down shots. I'm looking at the technicalities of all of it. And so I wasn't really, like I said, I wasn't scared on the first film itself. And the second film, perhaps I'm a little more scared because the first film has come out and it's done well and everything, and then you see like how do you adapt it to a different milieu altogether, and but I knew it was a universal story. That's the only reason that I go and take the risk of doing it in another language.
Let me take you back to the Tamil original. At what point of time after the release of the film did you sit back and say, Jaichitomara kind of a thing? When did that moment happen for Sudha?
I think upon the day of the release itself, it came in the OTT, and I think it came in some 190 or whatever Amazon says, those kind of countries. We had this film trending and tracking at #1 in Rajasthan, in Chandigarh. I forget all the other places. And then I'm like, hello? This was meant to be one Tamil film for the Tamil audiences, and perhaps like a little more than that, but not, of course, for all the southern states. And here you have in remote places, the film is being watched and understood and embraced. So at that point, yes. And like there were several things, before you release the film or before you are putting out the film, several people telling you, the biopic. Tamil சொல்லணும்னா இது ஒரு பயோபிக், இது ஒரு what is that multiplex படம், இதெல்லாம் ஓடாது. That's what I heard for the longest of time. And then you've indicated it's not a bad word to make a biopic. It's not a bad word to make an urban film or to make a film which is like about goodness. It's not so out of fashion, So I was like, so when we did, when the reviews started pouring in, and when everybody started like saying like this is perhaps the best film that's come on Amazon at that point of time, then I think we were like, Jaichitomara. We were telling each other, all of us were telling each other, Jaichitomara. Yeah.
But that poses a problem also, Sudha, because you mentioned it was trending in Rajasthan, Haryana, Chandigarh when the Tamil original Suriya Potru released. Now, isn't it the same audience that is also going to consume your Sarfira? How do you tackle that problem?
So how much is the penetration of the OTT in our country? At that point, I remember it was like how much? 2%, I think. How much ever it's increased today. I still believe there are huge pockets of people who have not seen the film, even in Tamil Nadu. I have been deep south, and whenever I go, not everybody knows or has heard of Suriya Potru. And that to me is like, there is a different audience which is watching the OTT, and there is a different audience which is not watching the OTT.
I spoke with Suriya when Suriya Potru released, and he told me that the film helped him go back to the days when he was Saravana and when he was working in a garment factory, if I remember right. And I remember him telling me that his first salary was 736 rupees. He was very exact, and I'm pretty sure that's right in that sense. He also told me that he still remembers the weight of the envelope when he received it, and he told me that he had gone back to all those phases of his life to tap into to get into this character. How much did all this help Suriya Potru go to that next level that you wanted it to go to?
So when Surya and I first met and we were talking about this film also, he got very excited initially and all of that. After 6 months or a year after that is when we were going to go to shoot. And when we were going to go to shoot, we do a lot of readings and we do a lot of prep. At that point, I remember him coming from some other film shoot and sitting with me here and then saying, how am I going to get that and the yelame, idu venume, idu pannanume, how do I do it? I don't have the ways, means அப்படின்னு சொல்ற அந்த ஒரு இது எப்படி வரணும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு I think that's going to be my biggest challenge is what he told me. And that's when we said, okay, then just go back to the Sarna who used to go 65 kilometers a day on a bike, being a supervisor and making a little bit of money. And he said, that's 25 years far away. It's 25 years since I felt like that. He just had to dig deep, and then I told him, I'm not too far away from that. So we will take things from my life and we'll work it out. And that's how it happened. Yeah.
So with Akshay now, who's obviously a huge star in Bollywood, how did this particular process work? How did he dig deep into that character?
He is, I see there is one level of, he's so comfortable interacting with everybody. He's a very, what would you say, he's a very ebullient, he's a very, very outgoing kind of a person, right? And he's got his arms around my assistant directors, he's got his arms around the lightmen, he's like going around the sets, and I do not see him, I mean, I have to say this because Niket, once I remember, we saw, he suddenly came to me, he said, ma'am, why is he sitting there? And I look, he's sitting down there on the steps in some college or in the village or somewhere like that. So I said, he's comfortable, he's okay. And he was looking at his iPad, and he doesn't even go to his caravan. For those 8 hours, he's like there, just totally, completely there. So for us, it was a little shocking and stunning, but the guy has not lost touch with his roots and reality. I see a lot of that, how much ever he's making or how much ever he's doing. I still remember this one point when we were doing this song called Dhoka. We were shooting that. We had broken for lunch and it was top light. So we come back at 3 o'clock to shoot it, and he's come in a fresh costume. So we were going to, Master was rehearsing, everything is done, and we're just going to shoot it. That's when I said, no, you have to put some dirt on him, This part of the song comes well after the beginning. So then everybody's like hectically, the makeup man is running to put the amber powder and all of that. Before they could even find anything, he just fell on the ground. It's a really, really nasty, rocky piece of ground. If you see the song, you'll know. On the edge with lots of mud. He just rolled himself, his head, hair, everything. And he just did that. And he said, okay? Is this good enough for you? So you see?
Right.
That simplicity comes through in the film. And he has a very vulnerable face. And with Suriya, we worked a lot with his eyes, because his eyes give out everything. For him, it's his entire face. And somehow it wasn't, somehow he felt it. When we were doing certain scenes with the mother and in the airport and everything, this guy who used to go around horsing all around the sets, I saw him really calm down and kind of prep. He would go silent, and he was very moved in the scene with his mother and everything. So I think there was a lot of him coming out. It's just that he just doesn't make a big production of it or anything like that. But the guy is very, very well prepared. He knows the mood, he knows the scene, everything.
Right. So the Sarfira and Suriya Potru is the story of a common man who dared to dream. In other words, if I were to put it very simply, it's what APJ Abdul Kalam used to say, right? Dream big, you can do it, kind of a thing. Do you think it's cinema's responsibility to, inspire people who are watching them and to give them hope? Do you think it's cinema's responsibility?
Cinema's biggest responsibility, I think, is to entertain, right? And if you're going to entertain with something to take away, then it's great. But I'm not going to say like, we need to lecture, we need to pass a message, then you should just be in a telegraph service, I don't think so. But yes, if you have a subject and if you are that kind of a person, then it comes naturally to you.
Right. What is that one film that Sudha saw and made her say, go, let's do this, let's get into filmmaking?
All of Mr. Mani Ratnam's films, of course, but my most favorite are Maunaragam and Nayagan. Maunaragam more than any of his other films, actually. And I remember I was studying here, and in the 12th the family had to relocate to Vizag, and even there I used to get we used to get Tamil video VHS cassettes at that point in time. I used to just wait for his films to come, and I used to just go and take those and watch them. So I think it's him. It's definitely him. I like the realness in his cinema, and at the same time it's mainstream. I love the fact that the film draws you into it, and then you're feeling for the protagonist and everything. And I guess it was that upper middle class world, and it was portrayed so real, from the sets to the costumes to everything. It just kind of resonated, you know. And for a long time after that, I used to wear like Maunaragamla, Revati Potta Madrinda, Vattapinnala Pottitte, and wearing the same kind of clothes she would wear.
Right. From being that fan, Sudha, of the big fan of Mani Ratnam, I think you also watched Pagal Nilavu when you were back in 8th standard.
Yeah.
So from that person to actually interacting with him, working with him for a considerable period of time, what has your biggest learnings from Mani Ratnam been, which holds you in good stead even today?
He always tells me, always tells me hard work. Nothing can replace hard work, you know, and that's what keeps him going after 45 years in this industry. Everything else, I mean, nothing comes easy, and nothing is just about talent. It's the hard work, and that will keep you in good stead. However much you're struggling, you have 10 films flopping or 16 films being a hit, doesn't matter. Just stay grounded and just keep working hard. Like I know even till today, he comes at one particular time, opens up his emails first thing in the day, and then sits down and starts writing. Whether it flows or not, he's sitting there in front of his screen. And that kind of discipline is something that I've picked up from him. And perhaps learning to say no, and to say what else have I really learned from him? Focus from Mani sir. And like he told me when my first film had flopped and it had tanked, and I go to him and I was really a mess, and then I had the idea of Air Deccan, and I said, so this requires 5.5 crores. Those days was a lot of money, and you know, everybody's telling me you can't do it, you can't achieve this, you can't do this. So I said, isn't that all the more reason why you should be doing it? I think that's my biggest learning from him. When somebody says you can't do it, you shouldn't do it, we shouldn't do it, then I want to do it.
If there's one Mani Ratnam film that Sudha wants to, you know, remake today or even reinterpret for today's times, what would it be and why?
I can't really say. I really don't want to reinterpret any of his films because I love them so much. But maybe OK Kanmani, in the sense that I would have set it in a tier 2 city or a tier 3 city, tier 3 town, and try to explore it in that strata of the demographic, rather than keeping it urban, keeping them in Bombay or Chennai. I really want to see how it would have played out if I had kept it in Madurai, if I had kept it in Trichy or something like that. I think that would have been exciting.
Interesting. You should probably work on that at some point of time. Is with Sarfira coming out, Sudha, is there more Bollywood on the cards? Because filmmakers from Tamil Nadu, I can easily recall, you know, Murugadas doing Gajini, becoming a big hit. Prabhudeva, of course, has done quite a few remakes, and Atlee is doing quite well right now. So, do you see more Bollywood on the cards for Sudha Kongara?
No, I don't see. I see whole of India, all of it, all languages, whichever language, wherever I get employed, I am ready to do it, and that doesn't mean just Bollywood.
So what's next? We hear things about Puranuru at some point of time. What is happening with Sudha after the release of this big Bollywood film? The
Tamil film. It's a Tamil film. I can't say anything more about it, but I'm dying to do that particular film. It's like it's been in my it's driven me crazy, like how Suriya Potru did, and before that Irdi Sutra did. So I have that same kind of I have to tell this story kind of excitement. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah.
Anything on the OTT front, because you had a successful tryst with the OTT with the short version also at some point of time?
You know, there really doesn't seem to be time. I really want to do that. In fact, there's this writer called Naran, you know, and he had written something so beautiful. It's a book of his. It's about the first 3 lady doctors, as they were called, in the south of India. Set in the 1940s. It's such a beautiful, brilliant story. But that's like making 5 films. So where is the time right now? I was like, I had signed on with an OTT platform to do it. We had finished developing it, but there just doesn't seem to be time.
While shaping women characters, does the fact that you're a woman come into play at any point of time at all?
All through. Obviously, because I am saying it from my perspective. And I am seeing the woman from a woman's perspective. She's not alien to me. So I don't have these those girls, no, those insane girls. They just like, you know, bubbly and they jumping all over. They don't seem to have things like grief, and they don't seem to have any of the natural feelings that the youngest of girls today have. Even if they have, it's ignored by the filmmakers because it doesn't sell. You know. So if you're going to talk about, am I my sex is helping portray a female character in a more real way? Yes, definitely, because I'm experiencing it every day of my life. I really do. And to draw out a male character, I'm like looking at all other males around me.
So finally, I want to wrap up with this. You're a married woman, you have children, and you still were sought out to become this full-time director, and you're doing very well at that. What would you like to tell, you know, married women who are trying to balance both their personal and professional lives and still want to make a mark?
I think you should choose something that you love so passionately, because wherever that may be, it doesn't matter if it's a 9 to 5 job or if it's like a non-timing kind of a job like mine, or you know, traveling all over, a journalist, or doesn't matter what it is, or a beautician, doesn't matter to me, or even a homemaker. That's a big job, the biggest job. But I think you should be passionate about it. Otherwise, it's hell, and you're not going to succeed. I mean, there are days and days and months and years when I've cribbed, and I have cried and I have felt miserable, all of that. But at the end of the day, I love cinema so much. I love telling a story so much. So I'm able to put up with all of that.
Super, thanks for talking to us. Here's to telling more stories. We hope that your Bollywood film comes out really well, and I hope you have a great journey ahead, Sudha.
Thank you, Srinivas. Thank you so much.